is how the other side works. That is how the other side works. It's to make us feel dejected, to make us feel that a better future isn't possible when all of us are actually right here in this room making it happen. So long as there are people organizing, knocking on their neighbor's door, and speaking truth to power, then there is hope for our future. So that hope isn't in one person. They say, oh, is she the future of the Democratic Party? No. Because there is no one person that is the future of the Democratic Party. There is a people that is the future of the Democratic Party. The future of the Democratic Party is organizers. The future of the Democratic Party is working class. The future of the Democratic Party is the marginalized, the people of color, the gender expanding, people of all statuses. That is the future of this party because that is the majority of this nation. We can't let ourselves get split up because by dividing us, that is how they achieve their power. But by us, we cannot just stand united. We have to work to remain united. We have to say, my brother is imperfect, but I will love him anyway. That is how we move forward. When we say, they may be a little flawed here, I'm going to educate and work with them and join hands to move forward. That is how we move forward as a movement. And that is an affirmative, that is a building action, because justice is not something that we sit back and wait for to progress. Justice is something that we create. We have to make justice happen in this country. We have to make single-payer health care happen in this country. We have to make tuition-free public colleges and state schools happen in this country. We have to make a Green New Deal happen in this country. We have to make a transition to 100% sustainable energy and renewable energy economy. We have to make those things happen. We can't wait for them to happen. We can't wait for them to happen. And everybody here in this room is making that happen right now. So you can't let yourself get dejected. You cannot let yourself get dejected because it is always darkest before dawn. Just remember that. It is always darkest before dawn when we feel like the administration right now is going too far, that we are ashamed of what is happening as a nation. It is darkest before dawn, and that dawn will come, and everybody here is a ray of light in the sunrise that is going to happen here in this country. Because it's not just LA, and I'm here to tell you that it's not just LA, that everybody here in every city across this country, in every small town, people are holding the candles of hope across this country. And they're trying to make you believe that it's extinguished everywhere else. They told me don't go to Michigan. They said don't go to LA. They said stay home. They're always trying to keep us small. They're always trying to keep us alone. But what we know is that the Bronx isn't that different from Detroit. Isn't that different from the south side of LA. Isn't that different from St. Louis. It's not that different from Birmingham, because the plight of working people is the same across this nation. Just earlier today, I took a walk down Skid Row. And I saw what was going on there in Skid Row. New York City right now has the greatest levels of homelessness since the Great Depression. In New York City, there are three empty, vacant luxury apartments for every one person experiencing homelessness in New York City. We could technically house every single person and still have 2/3 of the vacant housing left over. That is the result of a broken economy. It is a broken economy. And we need to fix our economy so that it works for us and not us working for them. Our economy needs to work for us. And we need to measure ourselves not just by GDP, but how many people have homes in the United States. We need to measure ourselves not by how much the highest earner makes. We need to measure ourselves by how many children feel like they can go to college or trade school in this country. That's how we need to measure ourselves. That's how we need to measure ourselves. We need to redefine in this country, it will be incentivized in this country. So it is up to us to say it is unacceptable to profit off of the detention of children and families at our borders. Here's what I want you to do. I want you also to check to see if your representatives are taking money from these folks, because injustice is bipartisan in this country. It's bipartisan. We have to demand more, not just of our officials, yes, but more of ourselves. We need to divest from banks that are making money off of prisons. We gotta do it. Because this movement is intersectional. We will not get, it is intersectional. We will not get to where we need to be until we redefine work, until we realize that the people who stay home and take care of their family members are creating value in this economy, until we realize that for-profit prisons are completely unacceptable in this country, and it is not a radical thing to do. It is not a radical thing to do. For everyone telling you that these values are radical, what they don't realize is how far our country has gone. It is not us who are crazy. Not with that man in the White House. It is not us who are crazy. It's not crazy to say that children and everybody deserves human rights. It's not crazy to say that the United States shouldn't incarcerate more people than anywhere else in the world. It's not crazy to say that's not the country we want to live in. So we have to define the nation that we want to live in. Because I know that I want to live in a country where every person can go to the doctor without a copay. I want to live in a country where every child is born not just with tuition-free K through 12, but tuition-free K through 16 in trade school. I want to live in a nation that does not throw people behind bars, who do not commit violent crimes, and whose worst crime is the non-violent possession of marijuana. I want to live in a nation that holds up its mirror and, however painful, acknowledges the wrongs of our past and does something about it to fix it for the future. I want to live in a nation that is honest about itself in our history of redlining, in the history of Jim Crow, in the history of the taking over of lands from indigenous people. I want us to be honest about that, because when we're honest about it, then we can heal. We cannot heal until we are honest about it. But I also want to live in a nation that is honest about the fact that we sent a man to the moon, that we electrified this nation, that we created clean water for every single person, and we can do it again. We can do these things again. Because we have done great things, and we can do them again. We forget about our history. We forget that universal health care, education, and housing were all proposed by the President of the United States in 1940. We forget that a Republican president advanced and thought about the notions of a universal basic income. We forget how far we've come, because this is 2018, but we're picking up the mantle. We're picking up where we last left off, when this nation was great, when workers did have rights, and we're going to go even further to remedy the injustices that have happened. So that's what our work is today. That's what our work is today. I was flying over here from Michigan after stopping for Abdul El-Sayed. That you can't run folks like Abdul in Michigan. They say, and to me, I think, I even come from New York City, and I can get why people don't like coastal elites. Because who are these folks to say who the people of Michigan are? Who are these folks to assume that the people of Michigan wouldn't vote for a man named Abdul El-Sayed? Who are they to assume that? And what we realize sometimes is that isms and bigotry can be a self-fulfilling prophecy on the left. Because when we say, don't run that man, they're not ready for him. That is how this stuff happens. Because I realized in my experience, when people said, oh, she can't win, oh, they can't win, it was everybody else thinking somebody else would have a problem, is how this goes on. Everybody else thinking somebody else is going to have a problem. And that's what gives this small minority of the actual bigoted the power. Because we're too afraid to stand up. We're too afraid to say, they may not vote for him, but I will. And that's what we saw in New York. That's what we saw in New York. People, they called me Doña Quixote when I first started. They said, a third-generation political machine. They said, do you know how much money that guy has? We're outspent 10 to 1. We weren't endorsed by a single incumbent in New York City or state. We weren't endorsed by any single established political organization, but we won anyway. We won because we knew that it's not about just running the things you can win, not just engaging in the fights that you think you can win, but engaging in the fights that you know are right. Is the right thing, it doesn't matter the odds. Because what we need to do is advance the front line for justice, advance the front line for a moral economy, advance the front line for a nation that we believe and will be proud to live in. It doesn't matter if you don't win or lose. It doesn't matter if you win or lose in the short term, because you're building the infrastructure for a long term, for the long term. Who I just talked about in the beginning here. James Thompson, he entered an R+20 race. And everyone said, don't support him, it's too much. Why would you go in and fight in a Republican +20 district? So James, as the only person out there trying to actually swing this district, had no support, no financing, no endorsements. And him knocking on doors and talking to people about a collective vision turned an R+20 district into an R+6 district. So they can't tell us no, we can't win. Because what we need to do is speak to people's pain. We need to know that people are seen, that they are validated, that we're here to stand up for their dignity, that we are not here to tear them down, but we are here to affirm their right to a housing, to a living wage in this country. And when they know and when they feel that you are fighting for them, they will turn out for you. Because in this country, voter turnout is way too low to be conscionable. And so our swing voter is not red to blue, it's not voter to voter. That's how we win. That's how we win. In New York 14, there were a lot of ways that they tried to dismiss our race. Oh, she's Latina. Oh, there was, yeah, that's right, Boricua. It was low voter turnout. Here's the facts. In New York 14, we expanded the electorate 68% over the last off-year midterm primary. 68%. We won with 57% of the vote, almost 60% of the vote. New York 14 is 70% people of color. It's half immigrant. It's overwhelmingly working class. It is the home of Rikers Jail. And we've never had a person of color represent us in American history. That's in a Democratic district. So that's what I mean when I say injustice knows no party. Injustice knows no party. It is a force. It is universal. And it's our job to fix it wherever we see it. Either have a mental illness or some other affliction that cannot be easily taken care of. These are healthcare issues. 80%. And we're supposed to expect those folks to have bootstraps. We're supposed to drive past that and see that population exploding every day and say, the streets are a little dirty. That is not what we deem as acceptable in the United States of America. And so what this movement is about identifying the things that we refuse to accept, and we will change it. They say, how are you going to pay for it? The same way we pay for our military, our police, our firefighters, our soldiers, our wars. That's how we pay for it. We pay for these things time and time again. But there only doesn't seem to be resources we want to educate and care for an electorate. All of a sudden, we have money, we can empty our pockets. We can empty our pockets for subsidies. We can empty our pockets for bank bailouts. We can empty our pockets for housing subsidies, for empty apartments and luxury apartments. But as soon as we want to pay for someone's chemotherapy treatment, the pockets are empty. The pockets are empty. These are not, so it's not about what we have, because we live in the wealthiest nation in the history of humanity. We can have nice things. We can live in a nation that we are proud of. It is all possible, but what we actually lack is political courage. So it's not where's the money, it's where's the will. Where's the will to do these things? And we can demand more. We can ask for more. Because we still, to this day, have thousands or hundreds of children that have yet to be reunited with their parents. I am working, and I am doing this, but I am just one of many. I could have just been sitting in this arena just a year ago. In fact, I was. In fact, a couple months ago, I was bartending downtown in Union Square. And I'll tell you the story of how I started this. I would print out some flyers and had my little clipboard, and I would hide it behind the bar when I went to work. And then when I was done at work, and I had changed clothes in there, I took my little paper bag, and I took it out from behind the bar. I ran to the back of work. I changed into a little official-looking dress. And I would take the subway out to people's living rooms. And I went from living room to living room to living room. And folks would invite their neighbors, and I would tell them why we deserve new leadership in New York 14. And so I did that over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. Over and over and over and over and over again. That is the work of change. It was uncelebrated, untalked about. In fact, it was laughed at for 8 months straight. But I let them laugh at me because I knew that we were fighting for something right. I knew that tuition-free college is nothing to laugh at. I knew that single-payer health care is nothing to laugh at. And I knew that closing Rikers jail is nothing to laugh at. So I kept going. 8 months, talking to folks in their living rooms to their neighbors. And that's how we built a campaign. And that's how we built a movement. A lot of it was on faith that what we were doing, what is right. It was what is right. And that is why I am confident that so long as there are folks like you who exist in LA, so long as there are folks that are like you who are knocking on your neighbor's door and having important conversations and phone banking for the people that need to be in office, so long as there are folks like you, what is right is what will win in the United States of America. So I'm just here, half as a student, half as just a cheerleader, because there's a lot of forces out here trying to tell us that what we're doing isn't going to work. When in fact what we're doing here is the answer to our society's greatest ills. Because homelessness is a social illness. A lack of education is a social illness. Mass incarceration, racism, poverty, militarism are social illnesses. And we are here to heal. And we are here to heal. So keep going. Because so long as you are knocking on a door, so long as you are phone banking, so long as you are reaching out and organizing people who are not seen by society, then we are building power for the movement. And I was, going from living room to living room, not listening to the naysayers, but understanding that every door you knock on can never be unknocked. Every conversation you have can never be unsaid. Every mind you touch can never be unchanged. And every single individual is building, all of those things is building the slow front line to power. Because we can make a lot of wins this year. We've got Carnella Ng in Hawaii. We've got Abdul Sainel in Michigan. We've got Cori Bush in St. Louis. We've got, and even if they don't win, you all know where that transformation is here. Not me, it's you. You lead us. And that's what we're trying to do out here. We're trying to connect these dots because they don't want us to connect the dots between Detroit and Flint and the Bronx and Baltimore. But when we connect those dots, nothing can stop that truth. Nothing can stop that truth. We don't have to live in a world where a single mom works 60 hours a week for a tiny paycheck and has to take it to a check cashing place that takes another 10% so she can barely feed her kids. That doesn't have to be the way that we operate as a nation. And what you just all heard from today are people who are providing and advocating for the solutions here in Los Angeles. Change is bottom up. It will always be bottom up. And that starts with us as individuals. Bottom up, it starts with us as individuals. And we have to learn how to love ourselves. We have to learn to realize that we are worthy of dignity, and then so that we can champion the dignity of our neighbors. Because when you say, I am enough, that changes everything. I am enough despite student loan debt. I am enough despite English being my second language. I am enough. I am enough regardless of my status, regardless of my income, regardless of my education, regardless of my trauma. I am enough. That's what we need to do. And then I matter. I matter. My income doesn't mean that I don't matter. My education level doesn't mean that I don't matter. I, as a human being, matter. And that's why we are standing up for a society that provides justice, that says that if you live in the United States of America, we can create a nation where people are housed and fed, and that we create a basic level of human dignity in this country. That's what we're fighting for. And so what we're doing, and it's so much bigger than electoral politics. Electoral politics is a tool for that change, but this is a movement. And this is the tool, this is one tool of the movement. Because what I see, sometimes folks say, how did you become a leftist? And I really identified myself that way. I just knew that I grew up scrubbing toilets with my mother. That's all I know. I knew that I grew up and that when the financial crisis hit, my father died and everything got taken out from under us. My mom was back to cleaning houses and driving school buses, and I was also waiting tables just so that we could keep a home. Because foreclosure was incentivized. Because suffering was incentivized. And that we can change our economy. We can change our economy to, instead of putting profits over people, we put dignity above all else. And we can make those changes. We can make those changes. But we have to say that I am enough so that we can believe that we are enough to build these things and make them happen. So I just want to thank you all for doing that work. Because it